Welcome to Push Pop number 5. A little bit late this week. No real reason other than I kept forgetting to record. So I had things to do yesterday, and Friday was busy as well. But we're here. Uh, Continued with the Snowflake stuff last week at work, which led subsequently to upgrading to PEST v2, changing to PEST v2. So we were using PHP unit all along, but there are some niceties there that, in particular, the parallel testing stuff. So we've got parallel testing at the moment, but reading that PEST 2 rewrote all of its parallel testing functionality to kind of increase speed by 80% was something that was of interest to us. So we did PEST v1 and that worked pretty well out of the box. We didn't have to change anything. PEST v2, because of the way that it had rewritten, and I don't know the specifics of the architecture behind it, but because of the way that PEST v2 had been rewritten to get its speed improvements, there was some scaffolding stuff that changed. Um, PHP unit, like class-based, class style tests that had worked with PEST v1 just didn't work for us for v2. And in most situations, just changing the test to be a PEST style test with the simplified syntax solved most of those issues. So the full test suite took about 6.5 minutes to run in parallel on my local machine. With PEST v2, that's down to 4 minutes and 20 seconds. So it's not 80%. I think 80% is kind of a general use case. Our specific situation, as I said, 6.5 minutes locally down to 4 minutes 20. So that's pretty good. And we're going to get some more performance wins there by finally converting a lot of our tests that actually hit third-party systems HTTP requests by converting those to use fixtures using Sam Curray's Saloon package. So it's all kind of just enabled for us and going through that process. So step one, I put out a tweet the other day, which I'll link here, there. Who knows? Maybe even over there. Saying that Saloon, like Laravel's HTTP client, has the ability to prevent stray requests, and so essentially we just threw that into the base, like top level test case. So everything inherited that, and then it was a matter of running the tests and going, all right, well, what's going to explode here? So have now done that, and just catching all of the situations where it explodes and putting in the fixtures there. So that's gonna, in some situations, these tests can be quite slow. Sometimes the third party systems that we hit just go away. They'll start throwing errors. I've got one at the moment where I can't actually record a successful fixture because the remote end is just returning 500 level errors. And so we can't record a successful thing, so we've got to go back to them and wait for them to fix that for us. But this will mean that some of our tests which make repeated requests, we've got like loops where we have to continue polling for an update for up to 60 seconds. If that system is slow for any reason, that's then 60 seconds that we're waiting in our tests. And sometimes the test is going to take 60 seconds and sometimes it'll be 10 and 30, whatever. So by using fixtures, we can make sure that assuming we get a known good response, which is what we're testing for, that this will then happen in a couple of hundred milliseconds rather than a minute or 2 minutes or whatever it ends up being. So very excited about that. That should help our CI situation as well. Locally the tests run quite quickly in the scheme of things, but in CI we kind of have to break up into separate processes. So I think we've got 6 or 7 processes all running in parallel, all at the same time in separate containers in GitHub Actions. And for all of those things to run to completion, we're talking somewhere in the order of 15 to 20 minutes. So if we can get that down, hopefully, fingers crossed, that'd be really good. So that was a large part of last week's focus. This week is going to be kind of getting those snowflakes into production, probably later this week. So it's Tuesday at the moment, so we'll probably get that out hopefully Thursday this week when I'm in the office. And what that will mean is that we'll start using snowflakes for everything new moving forward, and then we can, make sure that that actually works the way that we're expecting it to in all of our situations. The tests kind of show us that it does. Um, Real usage scenarios may say otherwise, and so we're going to do some human testing to make sure that that's all working. But then we can start using that straight away, and then worry about rekeying the existing data at a later point before we then merge all those databases together. So that's the focus for me at work this week. Which, all of this multi-database, multi-tenancy stuff that I've been living in this for the last 2 years in my current role, where this has caused issue on issue. And so I'm hoping that once we get this solved, we can then merge all the databases. We can do away with the multi-tenancy and the multi-database, certainly. But I tweeted this today that was like, multi-database, multi-tenancy is a mistake, and I still believe that. I know, obviously, I didn't put any context into the tweet, and some people obviously came to the defense of multi-database, multi-tenancy, which is to be expected. Like, I knew it was going to happen. I think there are obviously certain scenarios where it may be more of a requirement. I know that there's compliance things and medical came up a fair bit, and a lot of those situations talk about isolation, isolation of data. That doesn't necessarily mean separate databases for separate users and things like that. There is ways of providing, row level encryption and encryption at rest and things like that that does provide isolation without springing to multi-database, multi-tenancy. I think that a lot of those kind of situations where you're forced to use multi-database tenancy, they don't, like, they prescribe that there has to be isolation of data, sure, but they don't necessarily say you need to have multi-database, multi-tenancy. I think that is the crux of it. And so if you're at a size, if you're dealing with medical data, you're probably not, in most situations, going to be like a solopreneur or a small team of 3 necessarily doing this kind of stuff. You're probably going to have a bigger business and support structures and lots of expertise in doing that. If you're starting like a new Laravel application for a SaaS that you're building, or you're in a smaller business and things like that, try and avoid it. I know that there's packages out there. I know Sparcy's got one. I know that Samuel Stansfield has got a package as well that's that enables multi-database tenancy. In my experience, certainly over the last 2 years, in this specific situation, it's just caused more headaches than it's been worth for us. And whether that's necessarily the kinds of data that we're holding, or the way that we're like, it's obviously it depends. But certainly everything that I have experienced personally, I would avoid it if at all possible. That's what it comes down to. So yeah, the Laracon AU videos have started coming out. We're doing like one a day, kind of following the schedule of the conference itself, which has been nice. It kind of gives each speaker's message to sort of stand on its own for at least 24 hours. We've been putting the clips out. We've been using Chris Sev's amazing, really, videotap.com. And it's handled like transcriptions for us. It does captioned videos. We've done clips. It's done blog posts and YouTube summaries and YouTube chapters. Like, we just copy and paste from what it generates for us straight into YouTube, and we publish those out, and then we're scheduling them daily. And then the clips are going out on LinkedIn and Twitter, and it's been getting some good feedback, some good engagement. Obviously, when we're finished, we'll put that all out for everyone. They'll all be available free. So very excited to have them going out. It's actually been my first opportunity to see a lot of the talks. For those of you that weren't at the conference, I emceed and hosted the event. So I was backstage a lot of the time. I was talking to speakers backstage, making sure they were ready for their talk, checking in on them after they finished their talk, first timers and experienced speakers alike. So I didn't actually see many of the talks, and so it's been good to use like the clipping and editing of the transcripts as like a forcing function to give me an opportunity to see each talk and really take it in. And the ones that we published so far, Nuno Maduro's, Jess's Laravel Pulse announcement, James Brooks documenting APIs, Padma's um, designing with friction, Samuel Levy's accessibility on the back end are the ones that have gone out so far. The Laravel team Q&A will go out tomorrow. Like they've all been exceptional. I'm really happy with the quality of the talks and the content and things like that. So that's been very exciting to be able to share that with everyone else that wasn't able to attend the conference. So that's wonderful. Um, we sent out an NPS survey to attendees as well, just to kind of get a bit of feedback on, did you like anecdotally? I think the view of the conference has been fairly positive. The few people that I've spoken to have been very positive about it, and so putting out the NPS just to kind of get a bit of feedback directly from people. There's the kind of feedback that we want, obviously, which is the positive stuff. There's the kind of feedback that we'll get that is expected. I think it's the kind of thing that we've seen every year, is that some people feel as though not all of the talks should be Laravel. And from my perspective, I think that's not necessarily the best. Like, you can't sit there for 2 straight days and hear 16 talks that are just deeply technical, highly advanced Laravel topics. And that's always the balancing act as a conference organizer, not just for Laracon, but for any conference. Having to cater for 300 people as a collective, as opposed to 300 individuals. And knowing now, after the fact that 2/3 of our attendees had less than 5 years of experience, I think we had a good cross section of Laravel and not Laravel, and for different levels of experience. And I think one of the bits of feedback that we've got so far has been that we were able to put on some talks that addressed junior developers and people with less experience without being condescending. And I think that's really important. You don't want to be able to you don't want to be in a position where you're talking down to juniors. You want them to be included. And so we want to have an all-encompassing and inclusive event. And we're going to miss the mark. Sometimes you'll have, I don't think this year, but sometimes you'll have talks that don't quite land, or don't quite fit the bill. But I think part of it also comes down to the people that submit. Like, we can only choose talks from the submissions that we get. So if you don't see something that you think is valuable, then really it's up to you to put together a submission when the CFP comes out, and to put something on that you think is valuable to the conference. So, by the way, the speakers, I don't know how this is gonna work, but like, the speakers got together and they made this bobblehead, and I don't know how that's gonna look. It's incredible, by the way, and I'm very grateful to them. It was very unexpected. It's not the parcel that I thought was coming for me today when the FedEx person turned up. So, thank you to them. There's a photo on Twitter that I shared, because I had no idea who did it. It was really quite special to get something like that. It's nice, personal feedback from the speakers that they enjoyed themselves as well. So thank you to all of the speakers. I am going next week on Monday. I'm going for a day trip to go and look at some venues for 2024, which I'm excited about. We'll get to catch up with a few people as well, just to kind of go over bits and pieces, look at venues, look at ideas, and all of the ideas that I've had, and the feedback that I've received, like keeping all of that in mind for when we're looking at the venues next week. So that'll be one of 3 trips that I've got planned between now and Christmas, just to kind of nut out some venues. So that will be quite good. And exciting things coming for the Laravel community in 2024, and I'm looking forward to sharing that with everyone. But until next week, goodbye.